Multiple safes broken into, drawers ripped open, closets ransacked.
They don't execute these types of search warrants until they believe they have an ironclad case.
Put no padlock on my house. Ain't nobody never took no car. I still own all my houses, still own all my cars.
Respect.
Still got all my faculty, still sharp.
Stephen A. Smith, the most unapologetic loudmouth in sports media, just freaked out after the FBI uncovered a horrific discovery inside Floyd Mayweather's mansion.
Assuming something did go wrong, but he just didn't want to reveal that to anybody, we looked each other in the face, we had a conversation about it. And I'm one of the few people that can look him in the face and cuss his ass out if it comes to that, and he'll stand right there and listen to me.
The same Mayweather he once defended like a ride-or-die homie has now dragged his entire legacy into criminal chaos.
Chaos broke out. And I'm not talking about legit, bona fide boxing, pure boxing chaos. I'm talking about the kind of stuff that's just embarrassing. Look at this here, please.
And Stephen had no choice but to go on national TV and act like he wasn't dying inside while reporting it.
Floyd Mayweather has made a lot of money in his career. It appears he also owes a lot of money, too. The boxer apparently owes $22.2 million in taxes from 2015. According to ESPN, the tax balance was unpaid as recently as March 6th.
And it all happened a few days back when federal agents didn't just knock on Floyd Mayweather's door. They stormed his $30 million Las Vegas mansion like they were expecting something big.
That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is.
Ladies and gentlemen,
what they found inside was exactly that. According to official reports, the FBI is investigating what they believe is a $402 million scam directly linked to Mayweather's business network. This is not a small case.
When Floyd was winning early in his career,
Yes.
but when he kept winning,
Yes.
he became the villain.
Yes.
And then everybody paying in and tuning in to see him lose.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
He became the villain.
Agents found encrypted financial records, locked safes, and a long trail of overseas accounts. They collected hard drives, paperwork, and documents that all seemed to point toward a well-planned operation involving shell companies, crypto-based laundering, and fake investment schemes. And apparently, this wasn't being run by random outsiders. Some of the people connected are from Mayweather's own circle.
and yes, I'm being smart. I'm not trying to disrespect the grandson of a mobster. Fair enough. But what I'm trying to say is this. When you're great, when you're elite, not just anybody deserves to be in your pristine space. And what I mean by that is I'm not talking about on the street or anything like that. Boxing is your thing.
This isn't a case of poor spending or bad financial decisions. The paperwork shows an organized setup with intentional steps taken to move money and cover it up. The transactions are so complicated the FBI had to bring in forensic accountants just to understand it. This isn't amateur work. It's the kind of system someone builds when they think no one will ever question them. But now it's all under investigation, and the consequences aren't just about money, they're legal.
What the feds just uncovered in Floyd Mayweather's house is terrifying. They're going after Floyd Mayweather's bag. Remember the brother that walked around with a $100 million check in his bag, said he ain't even got to cash it?
The big question now is how deep Mayweather was involved. Was he running the whole thing, or was he just the face of it? Because this is the same person who walked around showing off $100 million checks like it was normal. He turned showing off money into a brand. He literally made Money Mayweather into a business. And now, that exact image might be the reason he's under federal investigation.
You want to get Conor McGregor in the ring for an exhibition match? All right, that's fine. You know, Conor sold that. It was great marketing. He's not a boxer, but hey, he was a knockout artist in the UFC. I get it. John Gotti III, I don't know anything about him. I'm not trying to disrespect him.
Stephen A. Smith saw this happening and had a full meltdown on live TV. He's been following Mayweather's career for years, always calling him one of the smartest athletes when it comes to business. But now he had to sit there and talk about how it might have all been fake. He listed the houses, the cars, the jewelry, the private jets, and then said none of it matters if it was all built on fraud.
I know we're on television, Floyd, but I think it's necessary for me to say, damn.
Well, you know, we are on ESPN. These are sports cars. It's a sports network. This car costs $3.2 million. This Bugatti right here costs $1.6 million.
Smith made it clear. The person Mayweather claimed to be and the person being exposed in these documents are not the same. He even asked how the sports world could keep praising someone for being a financial genius while ignoring everything being revealed now. In Smith's words, this isn't a stain on Mayweather's legacy. It destroys it. Because you can't keep preaching about success while being investigated for one of the biggest scams in sports history.
On his line.
I think it got to right now because the money gone. So the money's really gone.
And this doesn't stop with Floyd. This changes how athletes are going to be viewed when they talk about building their brand. For years, Mayweather was used as an example of how to be smart with money. But now that example is falling apart. If this investigation keeps going in the direction it is, it's going to change how people look at everything Mayweather's done outside the ring.
And I passed by Floyd Mayweather's $30 million mansion. It's over 15,000 square feet with 6 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, resort-style backyard.
Stephen A. didn't stop there. He said the whole money team thing looks fake now. He reminded people that Mayweather used to say things like, "If you know how much money you have, you don't really have money." But now those quotes sound more like someone trying to avoid real questions. Smith even asked if Mayweather ever had the money he claimed to have, or if it was all just carefully planned PR and borrowed cash.
It was made specifically for the champ, Floyd Money Mayweather. One of one piece. One of one. Money team.
He also said it's disturbing that Mayweather might have let these scams happen while publicly giving financial advice like he was an expert. Meanwhile, thousands of people may have lost their savings. This is no longer just about boxing. It's about trust, credibility, and how someone who was on top for so long may have thrown it all away, trying to fake something he never had.
Was undefeated for the last half of his career with one hand. He constantly broke his hand.
Yeah.
He would go into a ring knowing he had no shot at knocking somebody out because his hands were hurt too much, and literally walked in the ring and said, "I'm gonna embarrass."
And if the FBI is right, it's not just Mayweather's money that's gone. It's his entire image, his entire legacy. Because when the federal agents show up, it doesn't matter how famous you are or how many belts you've won. This time, they didn't just show up. They took everything. When Floyd Mayweather walks into a room, he doesn't just walk, he arrives. And he makes sure you know it.
You're gonna make a hell of a lot more money.
But the main thing is, I made smart investments. And I still make millions every month.
Do you care about your boxing legacy?
More than what?
Well, we ain't gonna say more than money. We know better. We're not gonna say more than money. We know better.
More than my family? No.
Over the years, he's turned wealth into a performance art. Fleets of luxury cars, private jets branded with his name, $1.8 million diamond watches, and $100 million checks casually waved around like tissue paper. But as the federal probe into his finances gets deeper, that high-rolling lifestyle is being peeled back layer by layer, and what's underneath doesn't look quite as shiny.
Miami, black LA, white Vegas.
Yeah, in New York, I got my driver.
Let's start with the cars. Mayweather famously claimed to own 7 Rolls-Royces just in his Las Vegas mansion alone, plus a $3.2 million Bugatti, and multiple matching luxury vehicles stashed in other cities like LA, Miami, and New York. But financial insiders close to the federal case have suggested that many of these cars were leased or collateralized, not owned outright. Documents recovered during the FBI's 2025 raid reportedly included lien filings and auto loan agreements showing that the $1 million garage might have been more promotional than personal.
Why you make the decision to drive different colored cars in respective cities?
Spoiled brat.
Oh, just being a brat?
Just being a brat.
The 7 cars that you showed me are in excess of $15 to $20 million.
Let me see what's the number. We go 3-1.
And you don't drive them.
It's close to 15 million. You're right. It's close to.
Then there's the infamous $402 million Manhattan real estate flex. In October 2024, Mayweather posted on Instagram claiming he had purchased 62 buildings in Upper Manhattan, with footage of him standing in front of high-rises and telling his followers, All the buildings belong to me. I don't have no partners. That clip went viral in minutes.
According to another update, he did ink a $402 million deal for a Black Spruce portfolio. When he said that it was all his and no one invested, he meant no one was funding his part of the investment but him. And so I think this is something where maybe he owns a piece of this or shares in it, but it hasn't changed hands because the majority owner is still the same owner that it was before.
But weeks later, Business Insider conducted a property records search and found no legal transfer of ownership. According to their report published in November 2024, the properties were still under the original owner, Black Spruce Management, a major player in the New York real estate market.
I'm trying to understand what happened with this, but I know there's a story that's circulating, so just putting it out there. Whew, it's a tough one. I'm trying to understand as a real estate person myself what exactly he is communicating when he's saying that he owns this, because they're trying to make it seem like he doesn't, but what it seems like is that he owns shares.
What investigators believe actually happened is this. Mayweather may have acquired a minority stake or entered into a limited investment agreement that gave him no direct ownership control. That $402 million number? It refers to the total value of the portfolio, not Mayweather's share in it. No mortgage records, deed transfers, or Veda Properties filings backed up his public claim.
Yes, Floyd Mayweather has reportedly acquired 62 buildings in Upper Manhattan, spending approximately $402 million. This substantial investment was made through his real estate firm, Veda Properties.
And to make things worse, Mayweather also name-dropped Jonah Regnitz, a known felon from a federal corruption case, as someone who helped structure the deal. That one detail alone set off alarm bells inside the FBI and SEC, who were already sniffing around his finances.
Is intended to expand his portfolio in New York City real estate market. Mayweather has expressed that this purchase holds significant personal meaning, reflecting his humble beginnings and desire to provide affordable housing options. He stated, "Growing up, I used to dream about owning just one home by myself. When you work hard, you can achieve anything. However..."
So when you see Floyd bragging about his retail spaces and telling fans they can do the same, there's a growing belief among analysts that he's misrepresenting the scale of his wealth, possibly for clout, possibly to lure investors, or both. Some of the buildings shown in his videos weren't even part of the original Black Spruce portfolio, and sources involved in the investigation told Zach XBY, a blockchain investigator, that Mayweather may have been using this real estate stunt to give credibility to unrelated crypto and NFT projects now under SEC review.
In summary, Floyd Mayweather has publicly claimed to purchase 62 buildings in Upper Manhattan for $402 million, aiming to enhance affordable housing in the area. While these claims have been widely reported, the exact details and confirmation of ownership are still subject to verification.
Now pivot to the IRS. Mayweather's back tax situation isn't just messy, it's a decade-long disaster. According to ESPN's March 2025 report, Mayweather owes over $22.2 million in taxes from 2015 alone. That's the same year he made nearly $300 million from the Manny Pacquiao fight, a historic payday. But instead of paying off the IRS, he allegedly filed for a deferral, asking to wait until after the McGregor fight in 2017. It was a move that some described as strategic, until they realized the IRS had to file a lien to even get his attention.
Floyd Money Mayweather up until recently didn't have any money, so Floyd is the highest earning athlete in his career, making over $1.1 billion. And after making a killing, he ended up retiring in 2017. However, he dug himself into a hole after making super lavish purchases like this LA mansion.
And those liens didn't stop at one. In total, federal authorities confirmed that Mayweather had multiple tax years under review, and his total outstanding liability as of 2025 had surpassed $52 million. Some of his domestic bank accounts were reportedly frozen in late February during the broader asset seizure. IRS agents involved in the case told financial analyst Chris Wan that the threshold of debt had triggered continuous surveillance, not just of his spending, but of his past gifts, offshore transactions, and real estate transfers going back nearly a decade.
Floyd Money Mayweather was whipping him pretty good. I was not there. I did not see it. I do not know. Here's what I do know, which is where my disappointment comes from. When you are as great as Floyd Money Mayweather, everybody doesn't deserve to be in your space.
Internationally, things aren't any better. In May 2024, a U.S. appellate court upheld a $2.4 million judgment against Mayweather in favor of Zinni Media Concept Limited, a Nigerian media firm. Back in 2017, Mayweather was contracted to make promotional appearances across several cities in Africa, including Lagos and Abuja, but failed to attend any of them. He received payment up front, ignored repeated refund requests, and was eventually sued for breach of contract, fraud, and unjust enrichment.
I know you like to make money. You're never going to stop making money. Very, very few people on the planet know how to make money like you know how to make money. But some of this stuff has got to stop.
Zinni Media's legal counsel released a statement accusing Mayweather of willfully avoiding restitution, and U.S. court filings revealed that attempts to garnish his earnings were stalled due to Mayweather's opaque asset holdings. That's part of the reason the FBI's raid in Vegas was so comprehensive. They're trying to trace the movement of funds that allegedly disappeared from contractual deals like this one. And these aren't isolated events. Across his business dealings, real estate, promotions, crypto partnerships, a pattern of financial overpromising and underdelivering is starting to emerge.
$1.8 million.
$1.8 million watch.
$1.8 million, dude?
You're the first to see it.
That's insane. That
1.8 is high. 18 life.
That happy birthday, champ.
From unpaid jewelry worth $1.4 million to lawsuits tied to luxury watch deals and Ethereum Max promotions, Mayweather's name now shows up more in court dockets than in sports highlights. Every flashy Instagram video showing bricks of cash and Louis Vuitton bags full of $100 is now being dissected for signs of illusion over ownership. Experts say it's possible that Mayweather was sustaining his brand not by making new money, but by cycling old debt, taking advances, and leveraging future earnings. And if that theory holds, then a big part of the empire was propped up by optics, not stability. Because when you dig through the documents and the court orders, one thing becomes clear. Floyd Mayweather wasn't just spending money, he was spending someone else's.
Boxers, if not the greatest boxer in history. He's absolutely sensational. But he retired years ago, and for me personally, I know these exhibition matches are entertaining. I like the one with Conor McGregor, not so much the one with Logan Paul. Looking at these exhibitions and all of that stuff, that little melee and stuff don't matter to me. As far as I'm concerned, it could have potentially been orchestrated. I don't know.
When Logan Paul walked out of that ring after going 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather in June 2021, he expected one thing above all: his cut. The YouTuber turned boxer had promoted the exhibition as a spectacle, played his part, and held up his end of the bargain. The fight was a global event, racking up over 1 million pay-per-view buys, with projections estimating revenue north of $50 million. But what came after the cameras shut off wasn't celebration. It was a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Not just anybody should be allowed to be in the ring with Floyd Money Mayweather.
Absolutely. Logan Paul, he said you owe him some bread. How you feel about someone making those type of accusations?
That comes with the territory.
Right.
And you got to realize, when you used to getting, to them, that's real money. And I like YouTube because I don't mind getting a YouTube check.
Shit, we getting a YouTube check.
Right.
This is going to be a big YouTube check.
Yeah, so, the money is not coming fast enough. That's why, when they say money on the back end, as far as pay-per-view, it take a while.
By early 2022, Logan Paul began publicly accusing Mayweather of failing to pay millions in owed earnings from the fight. In an interview on Impulsive, he claimed, "It's been 6 months. Where's my money?" He didn't just hint at legal action, he promised it. The accusations were serious: breach of contract, non-payment, and stalling tactics. Paul's team claimed that despite the massive revenue the fight generated, Mayweather hadn't paid him his full share, allegedly several $1 million, and had offered no transparency on the numbers.
And what I need you guys to do, slide over and check out the photos. It's not all 62 buildings, it's a few buildings, but guess what? All the buildings belong to me. I don't have no partners. And all the retail down low on my buildings all belong to me.
Mayweather responded on the Pivot podcast, brushing the claims off like a fly on a Ferrari. He said that money on the back end takes time, adding that he's still collecting checks from fights 7 or 8 years ago. He reassured the hosts that Logan was paid more money than he ever made in his life, and that he should be happy. But the casual tone didn't match the seriousness of the claims. He even suggested that Paul was being impatient, despite the contract clearly outlining payout timelines. The public wasn't convinced.
And I'm my own boss. So they hate when a table is turned.
Right.
You know, look how many years they've been owing us money. But we don't never trip. So now when the table is turned, they say, oh, you owe us something. Be happy with the biggest payday you ever got in your life.
Skepticism grew fast. People pointed out that Mayweather had a pattern of delayed payments, not just with Paul, but in multiple unrelated lawsuits, including a $2.4 million judgment from Zinni Media in Nigeria and unpaid jewelry lawsuits in Las Vegas. So when Logan went public with his frustration, the public listened. Especially since Mayweather was still flaunting million-dollar watches and Rolls Royces on Instagram, while allegedly ducking a contractually agreed payout.
You know? And he shouldn't trip. If he feel like he done great numbers and we done record-breaking numbers, then I understand. Nothing comes right away. Just like I'm still collecting checks from fights 7 or 8 years ago. I'm still collecting checks. Why? Because I made smart moves and I'm my own boss.
The media ran with it. TMZ, Sports Illustrated, The Sun, and even Sky Sports all reported on the feud, framing it as another red flag in Mayweather's spiraling financial situation. The louder Paul got, the more it fueled speculation that Mayweather was, despite appearances, liquid asset poor, stalling payments, and juggling lawsuits. Paul went as far as teasing legal documents on social media and made it clear this wasn't a publicity stunt. He wanted his money, and he was going to get it, with or without the camera crew.
I would take the bumps and the bruises for them, but for my loved ones.
But Fear, it's important to point this out about you. You're not just that way when it comes to your family and your children. You're that way with professional athletes. I know NBA players that have relationships with you, professional football players that have relationships with you, etc. And the same thing that you just said that you preach to your children and your family, you've been preaching to them.
And while all that was unfolding, Mayweather was already on to the next exhibition match. He fought Don Moore in May 2022, Mikuru Asakura in September 2022, and Deji Olatunji in November 2022, all of them non-traditional opponents with huge online followings but zero threat in the ring. Then came John Gotti III in June 2023, and let's not forget the surreal scenes of Mayweather replacing the referee mid-fight because he didn't like being told to stop hitting behind the head. It was chaos.
Why?
It's about giving back. You know, I don't have to go on record and talk about the things that I do. I don't have to go on record.
These fights weren't about competition, they were about cash. Critics called them payday parades and legacy erosion tours. Stephen A. Smith, in a fiery 2024 ESPN segment, called the Logan Paul fight a glorified sparring match and said Floyd was tarnishing what he built just to chase quick checks. And he wasn't alone. Former champions, MMA analysts, and boxing purists alike echoed the same view. These exhibitions were about financial survival, not sport. The structure of these matches only adds to the suspicion. Most of them were hosted overseas, Dubai, Japan, the UK, where regulations are softer, scrutiny is lighter, and PPV contracts are easier to negotiate without full transparency. Combine that with the fact that Mayweather was also allegedly involved in multiple crypto and NFT schemes, and it becomes hard not to question the financial motives behind every new fight.
To this day, they will tell you that's a record, that's the biggest fight ever, that thing was sold out. That place was, people were dressed up as empty seats, and I mean thousands of people.
No.
I bought my mother's ticket that day. That day, my mother decides that she wants to go to the fight. So I'm in there, and I'm telling the world that this place is sold out because that's what's on the screen. And it's not even close.
And it's not just about the fights. Every exhibition comes with new merch drops, NFT collections, and social media campaigns, all designed to convert hype into money. For someone who claimed to have earned over $1.1 billion in his career, Mayweather's recent activity paints a different picture, one of a man trying to sustain a lifestyle with a shrinking pool of cash.
This isn't like, oh, it's pretty much full. This isn't, there's thousands of empty seats. That was the first time that in my own life I ever just, wow, fake news is real.
Wow.
And then Mayweather, they wanted a rematch. They were begging. They were doing more media trying to get a rematch than they did leading into the first match.
Look closer, and the timing of these fights starts to make even more sense. Mayweather's exhibition against Don Moore in Dubai happened just weeks before his $22.2 million IRS tax debt from 2015 resurfaced in public records. His clash with Gotti III came shortly after reports that the FBI had launched a $420 million financial fraud investigation into his offshore accounts and real estate claims. These weren't random. They looked strategically timed. Fights booked when legal pressure mounted, money dried up, or bad press hit the surface. By 2024, Mayweather's exhibitions weren't just becoming more frequent, they were becoming more chaotic. The fights had less structure, more brawls, and weirder opponents. Each one promised the biggest payday yet, but the public started catching on. Why would a man who supposedly earns millions a month off investments still need to fight TikTokers and MMA retirees? Because when someone has to tell you over and over again how rich they are, it's usually because they're not. And Logan Paul's unpaid check might just be the receipt the world needed. Now tell me, what's your take on all this? Is Mayweather still the undefeated champ of the money game, or has the empire finally cracked? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're ready for the drama.